So yeah, let's break this whole thing down. What's good, creative fam? Brandon Washington here, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down this office. I have completely changed my office around. As you can see, the entire setup is new, it is different, and that is because I wanted to make an office that was wildly functional. And the idea for this office was primarily for creating content. I wanted a space that as soon as I had an idea for a video, I could sit down, start filming, turn to the side and start editing that video and get it out to you guys as soon as possible. There are a lot of different types of content that I like to create, whether that's photography, videos for YouTube, live streams, content for training courses. I mean, you name it, there is so much content that I am trying to put out. And so the whole purpose of this studio space was to be able to create a space where I could do all of that and potentially in the future even start a podcast. So that's where you're going to see a lot of the gear and a lot of what it takes to make this entire place run. But personally, I think you're really going to like it. But without further ado, let's jump into it. All right, so this entire section of the office is my command center. This is where I get most of my work done. Now, this whole entire setup is actually based on an L-shaped desk kind of configuration, although it is two different desks, which I'm gonna go into the details on why I did it that way. And then also I've got this nice little bookshelf that here works as a background, but also works for some functional reasons too. So in order to break this down and make it as easy as possible, let's start off with the main desk where I do all my filming and podcasting and live streaming from. All right, so let's start with this desk here, which is the filming content creation desk. Now, this desk here has a lot of stuff going on it, but it's all there for very practical reasons. So the first thing I have on here is the Rain Design M stand. This is where I move my laptop to when I'm ready to start doing any type of content creation. Underneath it, I have a Belkin USB-C hub, which allows me to connect an HDMI cable to it and Ethernet, which are gonna be crucial when I actually do my live streaming. So all of this is set up so that way I just have one cable that I plug into my laptop and then I'm ready to go to start filming or doing any live streams or really anything like that. All right, next over here is my new Zoom L8. This is a multi-track recorder. It's very similar to the Rodecaster Pro, only the fact that this thing is actually in stock and you can actually purchase it because the Rodecaster is back ordered forever. So I picked up this guy here and this is pretty much the way I'm going to handle doing all of my podcasts. It gives phantom power. It has 8 different inputs as far as for audio sources. So I really like the fact that this thing works out really well and I'm excited to use this in the future for podcasts. The next thing we have over here is the A10 Mini Pro, and I absolutely love this thing because it gives me all the functionalities that I need for live streaming. As you guys probably saw in my past live streams, this allows me to switch cams, do multicam, picture-in-picture, all kinds of craziness. And so the way I have this currently set up is that all of my audio is going to track through the L8, and then I can do all my video stuff through the A10 Mini Pro. The two together make a perfect and really powerful kind of just overall live streaming setup. And so yeah, these are the two main things that you're gonna find on this desk. Now, with that being said, I do have this monitor right over here. It's just a cheap HP monitor, but it can accept the HDMI signal that's coming from the A10 Mini Pro, which is important. And underneath that, you'll find my Xbox 360, because every now and again, I like to take some stress off and just do a little gaming here in the office. And also, that is also run into the A10 Mini Pro. So maybe in the future, I'll do some live stream gaming. If any of you guys are gamers, let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, this is my total complete content creation hub. And this desk pretty much stays clean because everything stays in its place. So the last thing that I want to talk about that's here on this desk is this guy here. This is my brand new Shure SM7B microphone, and I absolutely love this microphone for a couple of reasons. One, I love honestly just the aesthetics of it. It looks like a very professional microphone, but more importantly, it sounds amazing. Right now, you guys are hearing me through the lavalier mic, but all of my YouTube videos, especially where this is in frame, you're going to actually hear the audio from this. Like at the beginning of this video, you heard the audio coming straight out of the Shure SM7B. And now that I have it going into the L8, I know I'm gonna have to dial it in and be able to figure out how to EQ it and all that stuff, but this is definitely a huge benefit to this overall desk when it comes to creating content. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, I do have two different desks in here. So I have my creation desk, and this is my productive desk. That's why the coffee sits here, because this is where I need to be productive. And that was the whole purpose. I wanted to be able to sit at this desk, create, turn to the side, and be able to edit. But what I like about this desk, and the reason why it's not a real L-shaped desk, is because this desk is actually a sit-stand desk. And I love the fact that in a moment's notice, I can press a couple buttons and I can be working from a standing position, press it back down. You guys get the idea of how a sit-stand desk works. Now on this desk, you're pretty much gonna find my BenQ monitor, which I've done an entire review on, and I love this monitor. I loved it so much that a lot of people thought that the video was just an ad, but it wasn't. I legitimately love this monitor. I just got a couple pair of JBL cheap speakers. I haven't really got into like audio mixing and all that stuff, so I don't really see the purpose of spending too much money on speakers just yet, but I'm sure I'm getting closer to that. And then you'll also see the slew of hard drives that live on my desk. So yeah, this is primarily my my editing bay, my edit desk, and it works out really well for me. The entire thing is also powered by my MacBook Pro 15-inch, and so it stays docked here in the hinge dock, and whenever I'm not using it here to edit, I just move it across the room to live stream. All right, so let's do this last little section here, which is this amazingly super cheap little bookshelf that I picked up from Target or Target, depending on where you come from. But this whole setup is really just a bookshelf that I used to keep in one of my closets strictly for storage. But as a lot of you guys know, my setup has changed quite a bit since I've redone my office. And the entire reason why my office had to change was because I needed it to be more functional. And that meant making some adjustments. Now, at the beginning, I had another bookshelf that stayed in the back, and I loved that setup. However, I couldn't really bring that over to this because it just didn't look as good in my personal opinion. So now I've got this set up here. At the top, you'll still find my two, what are they called? What do you call these things? Medium format. So up here at the top, you'll still find my two medium format film cameras that I absolutely love and don't shoot with enough, but they always make their presence known in my videos. So if you ever wondered what these cameras are in the back, that's what they are. And next to them, or behind them rather, is my Quasar Science RGB light. And I love that light because of its versatility and the way that it looks, and it looks great on camera, and it's a great practical light to keep in scene. Below that, I've got two shelves where things will pretty much rotate based on what is inside of these shelves, but the two things that won't change out of these are these two lights here. And these are two of the LumeQ panels. I actually did an entire video on these back in the day, but I love how powerful these lights are. I mean, at this point, they're literally at 5%, and you can see how much they're actually able to do. And so I like to just slide these in right here. They're just off screen, so they can't be seen, but they do a really good job at illuminating what is inside of those shelves. Speaking of illuminance, down below you probably noticed some blue lights, and those are actually the GVM lights. I did an entire video on that as well. I'm starting to see a little bit of a theme here. But basically, these are just some lights that I have flanking this guy. And the nice thing I like about the RGB is, like, right now I'm going for a very blue and kind of orange, not really a teal and orange, but sort of that same type of combination, just some complementary colors. And the whole point is that I can switch out these colors at a moment's notice. Since they are RGB, I can easily swap out the color scene and give myself a couple different looks. So I personally think that that's going to be really cool, especially for doing things like stuff for Halloween or even possibly doing stuff for Christmas. You never know. When you have colored lights, you can get really creative with them and make some awesome stuff. So yeah, that's the command center. But before we go, let's go ahead and look around the rest of the room, because there's still a lot of other awesome things that really bring this entire room together. The next section is actually a piece of equipment that I think everybody should have. Now, if you are a content creator, there are a few things that I do think that you should be adding to your space. The first are sound panels. Now, there are lots of YouTube videos online about sound panels. I don't really know what goes all into them. I just know they do seem to be making a massive difference. I am working on an entire video talking about the differences of using sound panels versus not using them and what type of microphones they'll help more than others. But at least as of right now, I can tell you that I do tend to see a difference. So in my office right now, you're gonna find that there are 4 of these guys spread around, and they're primarily in the direction that I do most of my talking to. Sound treatment is important to your office, and also what's important to your office is having, again, more storage. And so here is that old bookshelf that I used to use in my YouTube videos that sat in the background. Now it is completely used for storage, but for some really good reasons. Down below, I have all of my lighting equipment. So I have all my aperture lights down there, as well as my photography lights, like my strobes and things like that I use for my commercial jobs. The next row up is my entire charging bay. Now, as of right now, this thing looks horrendous, but it is crazy functional. And so at least for right now, that's all I really need. Next step up here, I've got this junk basket. I think everybody needs to have a junk drawer or a junk basket, because sometimes they're just things that don't really belong anywhere, but you need a place to put them. And so the junk basket is my go-to solution. Next to that is my book collection. These are 5 books that, in my opinion, really changed my life. And if I'm being 100% honest, I didn't actually read all 5 of these books, but I listened to them. This video is not sponsored by Audible, by the way, whatsoever, but these are 5 books that really did change my life. I do have links down below if you do want to try Audible, though. Links in the description. But I will say that if you are going to pick up these books, I would strongly recommend it. It's definitely worth the read or listen. And then up here is just where I have some nostalgia gear that I don't really use a whole lot, but I do think it's important. Like my retired Blue Yeti microphone, since I upgraded to the Shure SM7B, my Laowa wide angle lens, my 100mm macro lens, and then this lens, which I'm working on an entire video for. This is a old school retro lens that has been mounted or fitted for anamorphic flares. So be sure to subscribe so you can check out that video. And then of course, another one of my Super 35mm film cameras. But now let's talk about the one thing that totally changed my entire office setup. And it really isn't that expensive. All right, now if you're a content creator and you're shooting in the same room consistently and you hate setting up lights, I strongly recommend you guys pick up this Manfrotto Auto Pole. This thing is like a tension rod, basically like the same thing that you would use inside of like your shower curtain, but it's heavy duty. It's designed to hold lights. For example, I've got my key light and then my softbox directly connected to this thing, and it sits here. I mean, I have it wedged between the floor and the ceiling, and I have 10 feet ceilings, and this thing holds it fine. I haven't had any scares or any issues mounting the weight on here. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere, but it ultimately frees up my floor. I mean, I used to set up C-stands every time I needed to make videos. I had to get my lighting set up. I'd have C-stands and tripods and light stands and all this stuff all over the ground. But now I just use these things, and honestly, you can have more than one in your space. And so every place that you have a C-stand currently where you're filming on a routine basis, I strongly recommend you pick up one of these guys and start mounting your lights up high and keeping your floors clear. All right, and last but certainly not least is the camera setup. This is my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. I actually did an entire video on this rig, And yes, I use an ND filter indoors. And the main reason why I do that is because I like to set my camera's exposure to that of all my practical lights. And then I actually go in and add in light using my key lights and fill lights in order to create the look that you guys see on camera. And in my personal opinion, it looks much better this way. Obviously, there's so many different ways to get your proper exposure, but in order for me to shoot at a shallow enough depth of field, be able to get my focus and be able to get my aperture and get all my other settings dialed in the exact way that I want to, I find that the ND filter works out great. If you have more questions or you want to see how this entire thing is broken down, make sure you check out that video. But yeah, that's it. That is my entire walkthrough of my office. But there you have it, guys. That is a look at my entire office space. Let me know what you guys think about this space, if you think it is as wildly functional as I do. If you have any questions or if there's anything particularly that you'd like me to go into more depth about, definitely be sure to leave those down below in the comments. If you want to know how I do my live stream, my podcast, my audio mixing and all of that stuff, definitely let me know. Or if you just want more tips and tutorials on different topics on this channel, because this channel is for you guys. It is here to help you guys with all the tips and tricks and tutorials that go into filmmaking and ultimately being a creator. So let me know what you guys are looking forward to in the future, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.